everyone, this is Kevin the Apptrepreneur, and we are doing a very random, very late live stream. So first of all, excuse the mess behind me. I'm sorting a CD collection. It's a really, really big project. I'm going through hundreds upon hundreds CDs that I've bought over the course of like 25 some odd years. It's I've been buying CDs for a long time, and yes, I still buy CDs, but now that I'm kind of running out of place to store them and they weren't in order and things like that, I've decided, I'm going to do like a major reorganizing effort. I'm going to, you know, properly organize the artists, the soundtracks, all that jazz. I'm going to get rid of music that I know I'm never going to listen to again. And I've actually been working on this for 3 hours at this point, which it honestly isn't as bad as it sounds. It's actually kind of fun, especially when you've got, well, I did have Christmas music playing, but again, in 2 minutes, Christmas will be over. But I decided to take a break and was kind of just putzing around the internet. And I saw a topic. It was an opinion piece from the Los Angeles Daily News called "The California Legislature Should Just Scrap Assembly Bill 5." And I decided, you know what? What the heck? We're almost near the end of the year. Let's just discuss this because interestingly, I find myself agreeing with this article, which might surprise you. Now, this is a live stream, so I'll talk about the article first, and then who knows if there's enough people on afterwards who want to chit chat, then we'll continue talking. But if you're watching this in the future and you see this video is an hour long, the main topic should be in the first 10 minutes or so. So let's take a talk about this article from the Los Angeles Daily News. It is called "The California Legislature Should Just Scrap Assembly Bill 5," and this is written by Ryan Young. Now, he writes, "Nearly a year into the COVID-19 pandemic, unemployment remains stubbornly high. California's unemployment rate is 9.3% compared to 6.7% nationally. California voters helped by passing Proposition November. I don't think they helped very much, but we'll continue. Which exempts app-based rideshare and delivery companies like Uber, Lyft, and DoorDash from California's Assembly Bill 5 gig work law. Now, the reason I think he's suggesting that California has helped by passing this is because think of all the jobs that would have been lost had AB5, or not AB5, had Prop 22 not passed, which, my thing is it's a less than minimum wage job. Like, it's literally less than minimum wage for 92% of the people who do this. So, no, those aren't jobs that are worth keeping, and I'm sorry, I do not subscribe to the belief that, if you're baking below the minimum wage, you should be happy to have a job, period. Sorry, let's have some compassion and humane standards for our wages, but whatever. This comes months after the state legislature passed an OOPS bill to exempt thousands of other workers that AB5 accidentally threw out of work, from journalists to musicians. I actually agreed. AB5 did, was a wide net cast, and in some respect, it did do harm that I don't think they intended for it to happen. And that's why I'm leaning towards what this guy's saying. Now that AB5 no longer applies even to its primary ride-sharing targets, the legislator should just get rid of AB5 altogether. Meanwhile, the rest of the company should learn from California's experiment. And look, I agree. AB5 was written primarily in response to gig workers. It wasn't written in response to journalists like me who do freelance writing. It wasn't written in response to musicians or or Santa Clauses or anyone like that. It was written specifically because Uber, Lyft, Postmates, DoorDash, and all the gig companies were skirting California laws. Now the funny thing is they didn't even need to write an AB5. By every measurement, Uber and Lyft are not independent contractors. There's just Uber and Lyft and Postmates control way too many of the cards for them to truly be independent from pricing to what I mean, there was no need to even write an AB5 in the first place. But because Uber and Lyft are stubborn, of course, politicians they write new laws in response to that. Now, here's the article continues. Whatever AB5's intentions, its results were terrible, and so was its timing. The ostensible goal was for more workers to earn higher wages and benefits. AB5 tried to do this by reclassifying independent contractors as employees. Formal employee status would also make workers easier to unionize, which explains its heavy union backing. And here's the thing, while I am typically not in favor of unions, for the most part, I think teachers' unions, for example, have done way more harm than they have done good. You have some cases where I think unions are probably necessary evils, and I think Uber and Lyft would be one of those situations. So, let's see here. Where was I? Oh, yeah. Instead, AB5 caused massive job losses. Again, I don't think they're jobs that were worth keeping, but whatever. That's probably a matter of opinion. Especially among young freelance workers. I'm going to tweak there. That's a little better. Freelance workers starting about a month before the COVID-19 pandemic hit. Code was already going to cause record unemployment. Then AB5 made it worse and for no good reason. Well, again, I'm going to disagree with this part because, again, I don't think a less than minimum wage job is actually a job. I think it's a hobby. In fact, actually, the IRS considers it a hobby too. If you report your, for example, eBay income as income, and you have to do it one way or the other. But like, you know how you can write off expenses if you sell on eBay? Well, unless you make a certain amount of money a year, at one point those write-offs stop. Because if you're not making a certain amount, then the government does not consider it a job. They consider it a hobby, which interestingly, I think a lot of Uber drivers, should they even get to the 2 to 3 year mark, would find themselves in that situation. But let's continue. So, no wonder Proposition 22 won 58% of the vote. No, they won 58% of the vote because they told passengers that their Uber rides were going to cost more money. Otherwise, I don't think people would have actually cared all that much. But, you know, a perk of many gig and freelance jobs right now is a lower exposure of COVID. How exactly does this apply to Uber and Lyft? Seems like there's a high risk exposure there, but whatever. This makes such jobs appealing to at-risk groups such as people with compromised immune systems or elderly family members. I do agree with the end game. Trust me on this one. For many people, working from home or making contact-free deliveries is less risky than work. Oh, he's talking about deliveries. That's why. Is less risky than working in an office, store, or restaurant. Independent contractors often have more flexible hours than traditional employees, allowing workers to avoid public transportation during rush hour and accommodate lockdown-era family responsibilities such as remote schooling. For people who have lost their jobs, a gig-style job can help make ends meet during a job search that could last a while. Well, it really doesn't, and we've done many videos about why it doesn't, but you usually end up, owing a lot more money than it saves you. Proposition 22 was an overdue fix. I disagree with that, but whatever. The state legislature had a chance to fix its own mistake and blew it. In all, the statewide Proposition 2 campaign cost more than $200 million. That money could have been used instead for lowering consumer rideshare prices, paying drivers more, or providing relief for people who needed it during a tough time. Yeah, that money would have been good for all those things, but Uber wasn't going to do that. They weren't. You think Uber and Lyft are in this for their own heart? No, they're in it to make money, and they've been screwing drivers over their wages and ripping customers off for years. That is why Prop 22 was even written in the first place. Oh, hi, Abstract Echo. I'll get to you in a moment. Thank you for joining, by the way. So let's see here. Instead, it was spent on endless television commercials, all because the legislature didn't do its job. Well, here's the thing: they would not have spent that money on the drivers. But yeah, they did spend it on television commercials. They would have spent it on different television commercials, but they would have spent it on television commercials. And yeah, the legislature didn't do their job very good in general. With Proposition 22 a done deal, repealing the rest of AB5 would have 3 benefits. One is regulatory certainty. People who aren't currently sure if AB5 applies to them could know for sure that they didn't have to worry about it before taking a job. A second benefit is simplicity. A good rule of thumb in public policy is that simplicity is beautiful. With a thicket that now contains the original AB5 bill, plus the Fix-It bill, and now Proposition 22's modifications, that part of California's labor law is pretty ugly. Scrapping AB5 altogether would make complying with the law easier and help people find jobs. Third, fewer workers would have to resort to gray market workarounds. AB5 applies to people, but not to corporations. This explains why California saw an uptick in LLC applications after AB5 passed. Workers were setting up their own one person corporation so they could remain independent contractors and keep their jobs. But this costs a $75 application fee plus an annual $800 franchise fee. Well, let me just say something right now. If you can't afford those things every year, then you're probably not making enough money to justify being an independent contractor. That's just a thought to keep in mind. That is a lot of money for most households. Well, yes, but if you have a successful independent contractor job and you're making money that you should be making, it's really not much. I mean, that's what, less than $100 you have to save a month? Pretty doable if you're really making the money that you claim you're supposed to be making. Workers should not have to pay extra and fill out extra paperwork to keep jobs they already have. Well, they should if the jobs were obtained illegally. But here's what I do agree with at this point. Yeah, you might as well get rid of the rest of AB5. It was written for Uber, Lyft, Postmates, and DoorDash. And with them effectively out of the picture, the jobs that it affected that they did not intend for it to affect, yeah, now they are suffering needlessly because people did not have an issue with those jobs. Freelance writing, for example, most people do not make their living off freelance writing. And freelance writing, here's the thing, I make good pocket change for that, but it's on the side. It really is. Like, someone calls in, they say, can you review this product or can you review this movie? I write the review. I usually use a pseudonym so that I started using a pseudonym because trolls, obviously. But it's a little extra money. And then, of course, YouTube, yeah, it's a little extra money. I miss the days when it used to be my main job. But hey, times change. You got to roll with the punches. But AB5 affects a lot of those things. And yeah, I've had fewer writing jobs as a result of it. So you know what? Here's the thing. I would have been perfectly happy to do a few less of those jobs if it meant that Uber and Lyft basically had to eat some humble pie, but they didn't. They were able to buy themselves a law. And now the only people that are suffering are the ones you didn't even intend to hurt. So yeah, AB5 is completely pointless. Now, this article, as you can probably figure out, I actually disagree with a lot of the reasons. I mean, I don't think these jobs are worth keeping. And these jobs are not stable. And, yeah, occasionally someone can probably make a lot of money doing this. I don't want to go so far as to say no one makes good money doing this. There's a few people that do. But in my many years doing this, the people who have told me that they make X amount of dollars, like more than $2,000 a week, and can actually verify, like prove that they make that kind of money, I can count on one hand. And I've had how many thousands of views? I mean, I've had millions of views on my videos. Millions. Like, it's kind of scary to think that millions of people are looking at this ugly thing and actually listening to the words coming out of its mouth. But there you have it. That's just how it's going. And the fact that the only people who could actually verify, one guy runs a blog and I've been able to verify that he has made money. There was a viewer who seems to not like my videos very much these days, but he said he made this much money. I said, no, you didn't. He sent me screenshots. I made an apology video, basically. I was wrong about this person. This person is making very good money on Uber and Lyft. And then, of course, you have the American Gigolo before he, the artist formerly known as Rise Revolution. He made a lot of money doing Uber and Lyft. He also had a lot of expenses that I don't think he was being completely honest about, but the bottom line is, at face value, yes, he was making that much money. But those are the three people that I know. Even Bam Bam. Guy never proved satisfying evidence that he actually, well, maybe, we'll call him, but again, one hand, 4 people. All this, 4 years doing this, 4 people. That's one person a year on average that has been able to verify that they're doing this full time and making a good go of it. That's why AB5 was written. But Uber had deep pockets and they spent money. And unlike what this guy thinks, no, that money would not have spent on drivers or passengers. Uber would have just kept that money. But yeah, since they beat it, and since the law now hurts jobs that people did not have any issue with, yeah, you might as well just do away with it. You might as well just do away with it. And here's the thing. I mean, it might not even be over yet. It really might not be. I mean, sure, they reclassify gig workers as this, but, lawmakers can write another bill and they can, or another law, and they can change Uber status again, and then Uber would have to go through another costly legal battle. Who knows what the future will hold? When it happens, I'll probably comment on it, in the middle of other things I comment on. But yeah, I think at this point, it's fair to say AB5, since the only reason AB5 was written is effectively a dead thing, might as well just get rid of the thing altogether and don't let the other people suffer. But again, Uber wants to spread this everywhere, so clearly they wanted it. And keep in mind, they didn't want you to have your overtime, they didn't want you to have your benefits, they didn't want you to have any of these things. But then when COVID-19 vaccinations came along, instantly you were essential. Right. This from a company who has stated multiple times when it's convenient for them that, hey, the drivers are not important. So, whatever. Anyway, that, my nose itch all of a sudden, sorry. That's where we're going to end this topic. And now I guess we're going to do the discussion part. So, if there's anyone here, I'm going to read a couple comments. We'll see how long this goes. I don't know how long this is going to be. But yeah, let's just hang for a little while. So let's see here. So Abstract Echo said AB5 and Prop 22 should be scrapped. Uber, Lyft, and all their gig companies should be held to CA labor laws that were already in place. I agree. I don't think there was any reason to ever write a Prop 22 or an AB5 because the laws made it pretty clear that what Uber and Lyft are doing were illegal. They were illegal taxi services that basically they just started overlooking the fact that they were legal because people started using them. But at the end of the day, they were still illegal taxi services, and so I don't know why they didn't just enforce that law. And he says, "Oh, Merry Christmas to you and Katie." Well, thank you. I appreciate that. James says, "Merry Christmas." Merry Christmas, James. Now, Abstract Echo also says, "My friend is a band leader. He's a musician. He had to work around AB5 by charging for equipment rental, and the band members donated their time as far as the books are concerned." Yeah, and that's the kind of thing that can be pretty annoying for these situations. I mean, band members got a raw deal when Prop 22, not Prop 22, see, it gets confusing, when AB5 was passed into law because it affected them. And I also think this is one of the reasons why Mark from Mark's Travel Time, formerly Uber Hints, was so against it. Now, I don't want to say what he does. I know what he does. Not going to share what he does. But I will say that his job would definitely be affected by an AB5. And I could see why he wasn't for it. Because it's just one of those things where it's like, and here's the thing, I don't think he has a lot of love for companies at the moment, but he doesn't take it so personally that he wants to give up his main source of income, which is a independent contractor style job, just to hurt them. Me, I don't know. I've got so many sources of income that I was kind of okay with taking the hit, but now that Prop 22 passed, it's like, well, I don't want to take the hit if I don't have to at this point. So, well, there you go. So, okay, do we have any other questions, comments, or is this gonna? I wouldn't be surprised if there's like no one that's really up right now. It's past midnight. Christmas is officially over. There will be we have to wait 364 days until Christmas is around again. So, let you know. This was just like a random little live stream. Okay, it seems like we're pretty much done. So anyway, thank you to the few people who joined me live. As for everyone in the future, what do you think about this? Do you agree? Do you disagree? I'd love to know. Comment below. Like, favorite, share, subscribe. And as always, flame responsibly. Happy New Year. Yeah, it's going to be a New Year soon.